Hey, hey, look what just arrived. Welcome to another video. I'm going to try and pull this off right now, but as you can see, I'm sitting outside and there's an army of mosquitoes that are jumping around my leg here, but we're going to try and do this. Okay, what I want to do today is talk about the new Tamron 70 to 300 f 4.5 to 6.3 lens for the Nikon Z system. I've had it in my possession for a few days now, and I don't really want to call this a review in fairness to the lens because I haven't had it long enough. So what I'd like to call it is my first impressions. This isn't going to be a video like Ricky Talks or even Dustin Abbott, who go into great detail about the specs and everything else of the lenses that they review. Let's start with a couple of quick observations. First of all, the reason why I'm considering getting it is because I used to shoot indoor sports for a long time, high school sports, and some outdoor pro sports. And my main lens was the Nikon 80 to 200 2.8 on back then a D700, D750, even a D850. But I stopped shooting indoor sports. And the other problem that I had was I was using the 80 to 200 for outdoor soccer matches for my grandson. And even though that lens is built like a tank, almost complete metal, about the only thing on it that's plastic is this little metal ring that allows you to change from manual focus to autofocus on the lens, and that broke. So I can't get the autofocus to work on the lens anymore, and even the manual focus, I can get it to work sometimes, and then the lens just locks up. So I started looking for an alternative. Not for indoor sports, because this Tamron lens, it'll spank you if you try to use it indoor in low light. That's not what it's designed for. So let's get that out of the way right away. It's a 4.5 to 6.3. I noticed that by the time you get to about 200 millimeter on it, it goes to f6 and f6.3 pretty quick after you get over 200 millimeter. Even when you go to about 80 millimeter, it seems to go to f5 pretty quick. So it's not a fast lens. You really need to use it outdoor with some decent light. That's just the way it is. Some good things about the lens: it's a light lens. It feels good in your hands. Does it feel put together as well as some of the Nikon S lenses that I own? Probably not. The Tamron seems to be mostly plastic. But that's what keeps the weight down. So overall, I know yesterday I took my grandson to the zoo, and I was chasing him around for 2.5, 3 hours carrying that lens, and I didn't really have a problem with it. So the weight of it is good. Today I took it to my other grandson's soccer game, and it was pretty cloudy, and in fact it rained for about half the game. And because the lens is not weather sealed, they say it's moisture sealed, I didn't want to leave it out in the rain. So I put it away for most of the game. So far I haven't really had the best weather to really try it in. So overall it's lightweight, it feels good. Even when you extend it out to 300, it balances nice. I'm using it on a Nikon Z7 II, and even extended all the way out to 300, it's not a problem at all hand holding it. Yesterday I shot it, some images of a tree, and out on the branches trying to look for some chromatic aberration. I didn't really see any. It handles chromatic aberration pretty well. If it's there, it's pretty faint. Today at 300 millimeter at the soccer game, there was a bit of vignetting. So is it as bad as some other lenses that I own with vignetting? No, I used to own the 28-300 Tamron long ago as a travel lens, and that had really bad vignetting. This is not nearly as bad, but it is there. It's easily correctable in post, but there is vignetting out at 300. At 200, I didn't see nearly as much. The colors that come off it are very nice. The autofocus is good. Is it great? No, but it's good. It's good enough. The overall quality of the images, again, they're good. Are they great? As far as sharpness, in my opinion, no. But it's pretty good. You know, it really depends on how picky you want to be. Now, I fully admit I'm being hard on this lens. You know, I'm being pretty critical on it. Other people might look at the sharpness and say, "Whoa, that's great." You know, I wouldn't say it's great. I'd say it's good to very good. You get to the corners of the frames and things like that, it does fall off quite a bit in sharpness. Now, I haven't, in fairness to the lens, again, this is why I want to say first impressions instead of a review. I haven't really tried it as a landscape lens yet, and that's a big part of why I'm considering keeping the lens, is for landscape. I have a 20mm, I have the 24-120 S lenses. I also have the 24-200 Nikon lens, but I didn't really have anything over between 200 and 300mm. I have the old Nikon F lens, the 300 f4 Fresnel, but if I could get this at 70-300, and if it could compare quality wise to the f4, shooting it at f8 of course, or f10 for landscapes, that would be good. You know, I'd be happy. I just haven't done that yet, but I will be doing that in a future video here. So if you want to see that comparison, please like and subscribe. And as Judge Smale says in Caddyshack, well, I'm waiting. Did you like and subscribe yet? Look, if my Judge Smale's impressions can't get you to like and subscribe, then I guess we'll move on. So overall impressions of the lens, first impressions, it's pretty good. You know, I took it down by the lake with a little bit of success. I took it to the zoo, and shooting behind some screens of a tiger and panthers and things like that, it worked very well. I was surprised. It was sharper and the colors were more vibrant than what I was expecting. Today at the soccer game, you know, on a Nikon Z7 II, you never know if it's the camera or the lens with this tracking nonsense. I have to admit, I had a lot of images that just weren't sharp in focus. You know, especially the really fast action ones. It was tough to get them in focus. I tried different focus mechanisms inside the Z7, and I know it's not rated really, especially compared to like the Z9. It's not comparable when it comes to shooting sports. So some of that could very well be the camera and not the lens. When the play slowed down a little bit, or when I could get like a quick, more portrait snapshot kind of thing, it was really sharp and the colors were really good. So therefore I have a feeling it's as much or more the camera itself than the lens. Again, that's why I want to say first impressions rather than a review of the lens, because in fairness to the lens, it could just be the camera just isn't going to handle that type of an event. So who's this lens for? It's not for indoor sports. If I was still shooting indoor sports, I would have went with the Nikon 70-200 2.8 S lens and spent the extra money. Keep in mind, this Tamron lens is what, 40% of the cost of the Nikon 100-400 4.5 to 6.3. So you're not spending nearly as much money. That's the appeal of this lens. If you're going to be shooting outdoors, understanding it's not a fast lens, and you can live with the 300 instead of going to 100-400, that's who this lens is designed for people like that. Maybe you want to shoot your grandson's soccer game, outdoor sports in the sunlight with a snappy camera, it'll be fine. I mean, I would bet if you put this on a Z9, it would work a whole lot better than for sports than it is on this Z7 II. That's why I'm like everybody else sitting out here waiting, where's that Z8? Early Christmas present, right? But anyway, overall first impression, for what you're paying for, it's a good lens. Understanding it's not a 70-200 2.8. It's not that. Does it compare with the Nikon 100-400? I don't know, because I haven't had my hands on that yet. I will say it does compare to the 80-400 F lens. I think it's just as good as that, you know, the newer one, and maybe better because of the fact that you don't have the adapter, and this is designed for a mirrorless camera. I am going to compare the 300 to the Nikon F lens, the 300 f4 at f8 and f10 for landscape, and see if it's comparable. I have done a little bit of comparison between the Tamron and the 24-200, which is not an S lens, but it is a good solid landscape lens for the Nikon mirrorless system. And I'd say that at least my first impressions at 200 millimeter and even 100 millimeter, this compares rather nicely to that lens, and maybe is even a little bit better. Again, I'm going to do more comparisons with that. So if you like and subscribe in future videos in the fairly near future, you'll be able to see some of those comparisons in case you are interested in this lens, and before you go out and spend the $800 on this lens. $800 is still nothing to sneeze at, of course, but it's a whole lot less than $2,700. So again, who's this lens designed for? I don't think it's a pro lens. To be honest with you, I don't think it is. Again, I don't know how it compares to the Nikon 100-400. Maybe other people will eventually come out with that video. But it's not, I would be hard pressed to think that it's as good. Is it 80 or 90% as good? Probably. You know, without seeing that lens, it probably is. You know, so do you want to spend all that extra money to get that extra 10%? I don't know. You know, that'll be a decision you have to make. For my grandson's soccer matches, for me, no, it's not. Again, if I was still getting paid to go out and shoot high school sports, I would have gotten the Nikon. I'd have the Z9. I wouldn't have the Z7 II. But for me now, I basically shoot landscapes and some portraits and my kids' soccer, grandson's soccer matches. So for me, I need good landscape lenses, which I have, and a good portrait lens, which I have. And this here is really just to kick around and shoot outdoor sports. That's just my first impression. If you have the lens and you want to leave some comments, or if you have any questions on it, leave it. If I can answer, I will. I'm going to throw up some images so you can see them now as to what I did get so far. Again, first impressions, for the money, it's a good lens. Overall, I would say it's worth the money. Is it going to compete with the top-end lenses? Probably not. Is it that far off? Probably not. At least my impressions. Is it the sharpest lens I own? No. Is it sharp enough for what I'm using it for? Probably so. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, enjoy, and look at some of the images I'm going to put up. And stay tuned. I'll be comparing this to some of the other lenses pretty soon. Take care.